And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Before we left, we were going through Rick Santelli absolutely having Andrea Mitchell and Chuck Todd's head explode. Now, let's look a little further on this intel report. And before we get right to that intel report, we're not discounting here at Good Morning from the Office. We're not discounting the report or the intel agencies. And I don't want to go down this road too far. But you have to understand when they give confidence, okay, when information with confidence, okay, there's people going to tell you, well, we are not seeing the intel information. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. So we are not seeing the intel information that is still classified. That is probably really damning to the Russians. Okay? That's what they're telling you. They're telling you just the unclassified information that they're able to show you and I is convincing. All right, very convincing evidence. These happen to be the same people, these happen to be some of the same agencies and maybe some even the same people that made presentations to the UN, that made presentations to the Security Council, that said to you and I, the American people, that these weapons of mass destruction were every reason why we should go to war in Iraq. Okay? Remember that? Now, that was the intel they were leading us to, that we were able to see at that time, the weapons of mass destruction. And at the same time, we were being told, if they have that intel they're releasing to you and I, the people, just think of the intel they're not allowed to release or not able to release because it's classified. Same thing, right? So I'm sorry that I'm going to question my government just a little bit. Just maybe that weapons of mass destruction and going to war in Iraq just a little bit outside, okay? Now, Germany opens inquiry into claims NSA tapped Angela Merkel's phone. Germany's federal prosecutor has defied public expectations by opening an investigation into the alleged tapping of Angela Merkel's mobile phone by U.S. National Security Agency. Okay? See, Andrea Mitchell wants you to believe that was okay. We just can't use it. See, the Russians, that was okay. We do it all the time when Santelli brought it out. But see, the Russians dumped it. Nobody's refuting the information on Cheese Pizza Podesta. Nobody's refuting that. Okay? Federal prosecutor Harold Range announced on Wednesday, I informed Parliament Legal Affairs Committee that I have started a preliminary investigation over tapping of a mobile phone of our chancellor. Merkel had complained to Barack Obama in person about the alleged tapping of her phone last October, but the federal court's investigation, which will be against unnamed persons, would constitute the first formal response to the affair. The German government has reportedly announced its support for the investigation. Okay, so we did that. Let's go with that. The Washington Times. Obama administration sent taxpayer money to campaign to oust Netanyahu. You remember when the clowns, and I think Head Clown, I don't know if Head Clown walked out. Head Clown could not. We got a clown there anywhere? Where's this clown got? Okay, now, Schumer could not walk out. That's the head clown. All right, he could not walk out. Remember when Netanyahu gave the speech concerning the Iranian deal, and they got up and walked out? I don't think head clown Schumer could walk out because he's in New York, and his base, very strong Jewish, so I don't think head clown walked out, but get him off there. Obama administration sent taxpayer money to campaign to oust Netanyahu. The State Department paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. This was in 2016, July 2016. What short memory. The State Department paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer grants to an Israeli group that used the money to build a campaign to oust Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in last year's Israeli parliamentary elections. A congressional investigation concluded Tuesday. Some $350,000 was sent to One Voice to support the group's effort to back Israeli-Palestinian peace settlement negotiations, but One Voice used the money to build a voter database, train activists, and hire a political consultant firm with ties. Let's see, the political consultant firm with ties to President Obama's campaign, all of which set the stage for an anti-Netanyahu campaign. The Senate Parliamentary Subcommittee on Investigations said in a bipartisan staff report. Interesting. So, Russians hacked our computer, DNC, because Cheese Pizza Podesta was using password for his password. Oh, password for his password. So they hacked the DNC. They got the truth, put it out, the truth on Donna Brazile that said she got the questions from CNN. Podesta and his, left his hanky at the pizza place, Cheese Pizza Podesta. All the above. Okay, how they really didn't even like their candidate. But the Russians used it. Andrea Mitchell said, you see, it would have been okay if they would not have used the information. We do it all the time. We did it to Merkel. They do it to us. Here, we got involved in an election. See, hacking an election. The election did not get hacked. There is no state in our union of the Republic for which it stands. There is not one state reporting a machine was altered in any way by a foreign hack from any country at all out there. Nobody hacked the election machines. So, all right, let's see that. That was that one. Let's see what this one is. Washington Post, October 13, 2016. A long history of U.S. interfering with elections elsewhere. One of the more alarming narratives of 2016 U.S. election campaign is that the Kremlin apparently meddling. Last week, the United States formally accused the Russian government of stealing and disclosing emails from the Democrat National Committee and the individual accounts of prominent Washington insiders. Now, this is back in October, okay, which now we find out the DNC dump is true. The emails are true. They're not doctored, Donna Brazile. The hacks, in part leaked by WikiLeaks, have led to a loud declaration that Moscow is eager for victory of the Republican nominee. Okay. While the days of its worst behavior are long behind it, see, they're telling you that we used to do this. We used to do this. The days are long behind us. The United States does have a well-documented history of interfering and sometimes interrupting the workings of democracies elsewhere. It has occupied and intervened military in a whole swath of countries in the Caribbean, Latin America, and formed coups. We have formed coups against democratically elected populists. The most infamous episodes include the ousting of Iranian Prime Minister Mohammed whatever in Mossadegh or whatever in 1953, whose government was replaced by an authoritarian monarch favorable to Washington. The list goes on. 1961, okay, 1973. For decades, these actions were considered imperatives. The Cold War struggle against Soviet Union and its supposed leftist proxies. There's a list, a mile long, from CIA. I mean, this goes on and on. It would take forever, okay? The young Chu, who happened to be traveling through Guatemala in 1954, was deeply affected by Arbenz's overthrow. He later wrote to his mother that the events prompted him to leave the path of reason and would ground his conviction in the need for radical revolution over gradual political reform. I don't want to get into the weeds on this. This goes on. It documents at the end of the Cold War, the United States largely brought its covert actions into the open with organizations like National Endowment for Democracy. There's several organizations that they brought their meddling into. The list is on and on. Now, the one thing here, we know that we have meddled within elections. We have hacked other people's information. We have used taxpayer money. And now we have this report with strong evidence. When I come back, I want to talk about Brennan, okay? I want to talk about John Brennan and Clapper. I want to talk about John Brennan and Clapper when we return. So we're staying on this RT TV. Okay, that's what you're hearing over and over. RT TV network, Russian Today, formerly Russian Today. RT is Russian International Television Network funded by the Russian government. It operates cable and satellite television channels directed to audiences outside of Russia, as well as providing internet content in various languages, including English and Russia. Okay, RT International, based in Moscow, Russian, presents around-the-clock news bulletins, documentaries, talk shows, debates, sports news, and cultural programs about Russia. It is supposed to be propaganda. Wonder what RT TV network sounds like here in America. NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, list goes on. I'm your host, BKP. What about Brennan and Clapper when we return? Take us to break there, Cole.